I'm working. I think I called work. I know it's just mad.
Yesterday was weird. My phone went crazy yesterday. I got more calls and phone calls and text messages on Sunday than I did all week.
Good morning, welcome. And I thought what I would do is actually start with a clip from last week. If you weren't on last week's show, actually Peter was on and he was talking a little bit about how to buy a car differently. So let's start with that. I'm going to share some details on what Tesla's doing with cars, which is kind of interesting. But here we go.
So I think one of the keys, as we talk about making more sales, I think we need to really focus a little bit on making things affordable and finding different ways where maybe even some flexible financing. You know, you brought up the Tesla situation. We've been talking a bit about, rental kind of contests. And the challenge with some of that is how do you address the insurance and also the potential repairs on the vehicle. So there's a lot of different things that I think we need to look at moving forward with the way things have changed.
Fantastic. Well, we have the only Larry Feldman on today, and it looks like we have Barrett as well, who just joined us. Larry, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about affordability in cars. We know cars are more unaffordable now probably than they've ever been, but more importantly, I saw actually an interesting launch from Buick. They're launching a minivan that starts at about 80 grand and goes up to over $100,000. And I thought that was an interesting take on the minivan segment. But I also saw an article today that Rolls-Royce's sales are up, which I thought was kind of interesting. But go ahead, Mr. Larry.
Well, it's the old thing, the rich get richer. So I don't think the people at the top end of the income spectrum are suffering. Many, many years ago, dealers realized through an accident with Audi that leasing made sense because if they could sell dealers cars every 3 years instead of every 5 or 6 years, they would profit more, and obviously the dealers would profit more. When you combine that with the monster.
So that's a quick clip from the show from last week. So let's get into it. I'm working from a laptop today, so you got to give me a little bit of a break. I got lots of screens going here. 1 second here. So we want to stop.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning.
And we'll share this one. Share audio. Share. All right.
Rolling in from sunny Vegas.
Here we go.
Hey, are you Ian Heddercott, the host of the Auto Hub Show?
Life is about connection. Having a support system to lean on. And roads to endless possibility. At every turn, guiding the way, we are building the connections that move you.
Hey, I'm Vince Delmonico, General Sales Manager with Cruise Ford Lincoln. Larry Feldman came out and did one of our training courses. Absolutely incredible. I sat through the course myself. The engagement that our salespeople gained from it, the excitement that he brings, it was a new way of looking at things that we're already doing and how we can improve them. Love it. It's literally the best thing since sliced bread.
How do you adventure? Is it fast? Is it free? Is it clear? Is it rugged? Is it remote? For your next adventure, trust MotoClose for buying, selling, trading, and protecting all of your motorized assets. Powered by Disclose Dealership Management Dashboard, your all-in-one DMS, CRM, menu, lead gen, inventory, staff, client, and deal management solution. Disclose DMD, like a DMS, only better. Mention promo code AutoHub2025 to get special pricing, including waive setup costs, no contract, and your first month's free.
Car dealers often underestimate the power of social media. Are you wondering why my face is plastered in your newsfeed? Are you a GM, dealer principal, or a manager at a car dealership wondering why you see me all the time on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and all over social media? Well, that didn't happen by chance. I target car dealers that are in-market shoppers for social media services, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing for you so that you target in-market shoppers for your brand of customers that purchase your vehicles. During my Viato days, helping car dealers appraise and price cars, everyone was asking me, what do I do on social media? What do I do with Facebook, Instagram, TikTok? And this was back in 2016. So here we are 10 years later. I started a company, became an entrepreneur, and now I help car dealers. They either outsource their social media needs to us, or we have a training and education center where we can teach all of your employees how to do social media in-house. 90% of consumers actually follow a business on Instagram. The average adult sits on TikTok for 2 hours a day in the rabbit hole. To learn more information about it or to get a demo from one of my sales associates, click the link below. We would absolutely love to help you.
All righty. So let's just move this over. Share screen, window, this window, share. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm currently in Vancouver, British Columbia. I've been doing a little bit of a tour of Western Canada. So I went to Edmonton, and then from Edmonton, I went to Kelowna, and now I'm in Vancouver. So I've been doing a little bit of driving, which has been a lot of fun, actually. But today we're talking a little bit about payments, and we have a bunch of different guests on. We have Brandy, we have Peter, we have Doug Reeves, we have the one and only Tim Hayden, and Peter's from his car, I'm assuming. So I was talking. I am working from a kind of a laptop scenario today, so it might be kind of interesting. But the first question I had for everybody was. Do you sell cars with discounts or payments in 2025, in your opinion? And let's start with who was on first. Peter was on first.
Well, I think there's no way of getting around selling cars with payments. I mean, I think something just everybody's used to, and the discounts are going to be a big play because things are becoming very competitive. So I think it's one of those situations where it's a necessary evil.
And tell us a little bit more about what you do. If you don't know Peter, I've known him for 15 years. So tell us a little bit more about what you do, Peter.
Just in a quick nutshell, I've been in the car business, either working for dealerships or at dealerships or owning a dealership my entire career. Actually started out when I was in high school as a lot boy doing car detailing. That's how far back I go, which is a long time ago. And basically, what I do right now is Cactus Sky is a company I work for, and we basically do marketing for vendors, helping them sell products and services to car dealers. And prior to that, before COVID, we also had a large business where we were doing email marketing for car dealers, but that kind of got shut down due to COVID. So right now, we're just out there helping everybody, doing a lot of marketing, but I do a lot of work with car dealers directly and a lot of consulting. So got a wide variety of experience. So hopefully some of that can help the people on the call.
Fantastic. Well, I was actually in Edmonton, and there's the largest Jeep dealer in Canada. And the gentleman who owns that dealership and dealer group, so there's, I think, 8 or 9 rooftops now, he started out washing cars. So they've got the 2-floor showroom. On the top is all these collector Jeeps, which is kind of interesting. And they have a merch store, which is pretty epic, actually. So if you're in Edmonton, definitely check out that store. It's right next to the hotel I stayed at, which was kind of interesting as well. But we have Brandy on today. So Brandy, maybe you could share your thoughts on payments. I know people pay cash a lot for cars, right?
Yes, depending on where you are, especially located. I know our cash penetration on the island was as high as 81% at a Mercedes-Benz store that I was there, which really was equivalent to the finance and lease penetration for the country. So definitely depends on where you are. I think for myself, you definitely go to what the client is after. But before we even start talking about discounts, I'm really curious to see what dealers' steps are to start to analyze their prior data
before they start giving discounts, whether the client is there or not? Do they have the tools to properly look at the interest in the vehicle? Are they looking at any of the stats of the vehicle's activity before they're assigning or delegating discounts? And so I'm really curious to hear what everybody's steps and protocol is before even looking at discounts or selling styles.
Fantastic. So Doug was on next. I know there's a big announcement, Doug. Maybe you want to start with sharing that.
Well, yeah, A to Z Sync among, we created a dealership experience platform years ago to enhance the selling of cars, but do more than calculate numbers, but really truly enhance the experience. And we got chosen by Amazon as their tech partner. And there's an announcement today that we will now be offering CPO units from Ford dealers on Amazon. So it's a great next step for us with Amazon, and as the program continues to mature. Regarding your question, I think there's a big difference between selling someone a car and helping someone buy a car. And I think that what people tend to do is just run to payments, as opposed to taking the time to figuring out what exactly the customer needs. There's a tendency to car somebody. It's probably better to car down and then option up as we figure out what they need, then arrive at the payments. And I think that, too many times dealers are negating the importance of a strong discovery session where they really get to know what the customer's needs are truly and what their truly must-haves are versus, oh, that'd be nice to have. And that can then obviously round into, okay, then now that we found a vehicle, let's figure out payments.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, if you're not familiar, Tesla's now announced that they're going to rent you a car for a day, including insurance and charging for $60 a day, which I thought was kind of an interesting way to look at that. I heard that last week. But we have Tim Hayden on from Texas. Tim, I mean, I know you have nothing to do with data or payments, but maybe you have some thoughts on payments.
Thanks, Ian, and congrats, Doug. That's big news, and I think I'll just because I just said Doug, what he said about discovery, which is empathy and relevance, right? There is no more of straight line persona, that we know these kind of people buy these kinds of cars. To the point Randy made, depends on where you are in terms of the payment capacity, or back to Doug, the options that they need and want. And this is really where technologies today with machine learning and with artificial intelligence are creeping in to help dealers fine-tune exactly who's in their audience, who's shopping with them right now, and then being able to get a little finer and more exact about what inventory is available. That which they've got on the lot, and that which they may have in a network with folks like VinQ and Cars Commerce and is it AutoAcquired.ai? There's a bunch of folks that are kind of subverting the auction market right now too. And in all of the above, when you've got relevance, you don't have to discount anything. You've just got to find the right fit. And in my world, at least, that's where we're taking dealers right now. That's our clients are starting to do that. There's no more discount. In fact, a lot of them are not even going to spend money on media anymore. Or hardly any media money going out the door, because they've got this peer-to-peer relationship with their customers, again, with empathy and relevance.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I visited about 35 dealerships in the last couple of days, and I have to comment on a couple experiences. One of the dealers, which happened to be in the Edmonton market, I went in and I said, hey, I'm a podcast. I'm looking for people to interview. He literally rolled up and said, oh, I'm not interested. I said, I'm not selling anything, buddy. I'm looking for someone who wants to do interviews. And he's the general manager. And I was like, wow, like maybe this is the wrong business for you. You don't want to talk to customers or even people who just want to talk to you. It was hilarious to me. But anyway, Peter, what do you think? You're driving, I'm assuming, or taking a break?
for used car week. I'm
Okay.
just pulled into the hotel, the event hotel. It's a big one. There's 1,400 attendees, so it should be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. But getting back to your question about payments and everything, the very first thing that I would say about it is our industry is it's snafu, and we all know what snafu stands for, so I won't repeat it on a friendly show. It's snafu. We think it's normal, but it's not. Customers want a different experience, and Kelly Reese just said it best. It said she goes to dealerships and after their rebuilds and make sure that everything is in place and done right and everything else, but they don't change the process. The process still remains the same, and it's absolute madness because you build this big beautiful building, this Taj Mahal, and then you go back to 1970s car mentality, and that's where we're at. It's like we can go back 4 generations, and that's how we were all taught. And it keeps trickling down. Yeah, sure, certain things change. But the number one thing that changes and the number one thing that is getting results, and I'll go to Ford 2.0, and they've launched 4 new stores across the United States. They're launching 3 in Canada, 100 worldwide. They're redefining on how the customer is looked after. And it basically, the customer controls everything from any spot, anywhere in the dealership or outside the dealership. The customer gets absolute transparency. Now, Boulevard Ford in Maryland just was the first one to launch. And in their first week, they increased their volume by 35%, and their GP went up by 82%. That was their first week. It's gone up week over week over week for the last 6 weeks. The one thing that's improved in those 6 weeks, without holding anybody hostage, without pleading for anything, they have had a net promoter score of 5.0, perfect score, since they changed over, not asking for any surveys. And they've never had a week where they've had a 5.0 on their NPS. So the customer wants the transparency. The customer wants the ability to talk about payments right off the bat because it's their number one concern.
Understand.
So,
yeah, I mean, it's funny. I was there's a Porsche retailer here in the Richmond Auto Mall. It's one of the largest in Western Canada. And I also at one in Edmonton as well, just to compare. But what surprised me about that store is it's a multi-level store, and they have I think a certified used car floor. But it was just the ability of the staff not only to be friendly, but to basically leave you alone. Like they only are helping you if you're interested in help. They're not jumping all over you. Whereas to compare, I went to a Nissan store in the same auto mall, and how'd you hear about our big sale today? I'm like, well, why are you leading with that, dude? Like, what? I don't know who trained you on that, but it was just hilarious. But it was funny because my next question was about the Foursquare system. And years ago, I was doing some training actually in the Vancouver market. And as I was asked to train the Foursquare to a group of salespeople. And the thing that was funny about it was I never used that system when I sold cars. I would sell cars based on payment options. So I would basically say, hey, you're buying a car, great. You can lease it, you can finance it, you can prepaid lease it, you can pay cash. Here's a bunch of options, 38, 48, 64, whatever that is, right? But, at the end of the day, that was always how I sold cars. But the question I would have everybody is, do you think the Foursquare system is still useful in 2025? Do you think that system is still something that not only can be used effectively, but still has some value? Let's start with Doug on that. I mean, I doubt you're doing a lot of that, but go ahead.
Well, I just think that with technology today, you don't need to rely on an old paper Foursquare. I mean, we all know the levers that can be manipulated to arrive at a payment. I think more importantly is just having a solid intellectual conversation with the customer and saying, look, if this is the car you want and it does meet your needs and you're stuck on this car, all right, then let's look at various ways in which you can acquire this vehicle and open it up to anything and everything. I think too often we they hide behind trying to steal a trade or, bogify some numbers. And really it's in the end, at some point in time, reality is going to hit the customer as to what they can and can't do. So why not just have it at the beginning, have a just solid intellectual conversation, say, look, here's what's available. Let's figure out what we can do. And maybe you can't have the car right now. Maybe that's what you have to recognize is that this new car isn't right for you. Let's switch to a used.
Well, 100%. I mean, the thing that was interesting as I visited these different dealers and I looked at sort of the different experiences when I walked in some retailers, and some of them are obviously fancier looking than others, including some in my old neighborhood. I was walking around yesterday a little bit. What was interesting was when I was in Kelowna, which is a small touristy town kind of in BC, was a lot of the dealers had a really interesting process where they had basically a greeter who talked to you before any of the salespeople got to you, which was really interesting, specifically because nobody got missed. Now, was that an advantage? It all depended on how they did it. But what was interesting was there was a whole range from the high line with that kind of thing, or even a mid-range, to the low end where it was like they were all over you like it was 25 years ago. And I think part of it is that you have to understand that not only do people buy things differently today, but there was a survey that was out this morning from CDK. People are waiting on hold longer today than they did last year, which I thought was really interesting on a phone call. And I think that's also a really interesting stat. So how long, I guess, would you wait to get a payment in a car dealership when you walked in just wanting a payment? And I guess that's kind of what I'm thinking. But Tim, did you want to comment on that? Oh, you're coming back in, I guess. I think we're waiting for Tim. There's two Tims.
Hey, Ian,
he's multiplied himself. Go ahead.
Ian, Peter. You mentioned something, and one of the things I want to point out too that I've been reading a lot about and talking to people about is the buyers are changing. I mean, we have a younger generations now coming to the point where they're starting to go into car dealerships. They basically, started out with the car that their parents bought them, when they went to college, whatever, and now they've got a job, they're starting to make money. But that generation that's now starting to come into car dealerships is a lot different than any buyer we've ever seen it before in the business, because those people do not, without a doubt, across the board, do not want to talk to a salesperson. So there's a group of people, and it's funny, someone said something the other day, is that younger generation knows how to do everything on their phone except talk. They don't want to talk, they want to text.
Yeah.
So when they come into the dealership, and if you take that old approach, like we did in the car business, coming out, going after them like we do, you're going to turn a lot of those people off. And that's why I think what Doug was talking about, Amazon, they're appealing to that whole market, because those are the people that don't want to come to a car dealership. They don't want to go through the car buying process. So I think we need to look at this conversation a little bit two different ways. One is the generation that we're used to that's been buying cars in the past, and this new younger generation that is a totally new buyer. And I think we're going to have to modify how we sell to these people, because they are very much opposed to, dealing with a salesperson and any pressure.
Yeah, I would agree with that they're opposed to dealing with a salesperson. But I've read somewhere that this same group that you're referring to also is inexperienced at buying big ticket items. And as such, they're going to still need some hand holding. It's how you do it, how you finesse it, how you're a little bit more genteel about it, and not just go for the throat every time. I think that a more consultative approach is going to be what's going to be really needed.
Well, the other thing I saw, which was really interesting, is pre-Black Friday sales already. Like Black Friday hasn't even happened. They're like pre-bonus for the Black Friday sale in early November. I thought that was hilarious. But Tim, what do you think? You just came back. So what do you think?
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't think anything new's been said so far. I mean, Doug's just right. I mean, and this is the conversation I'm having more and more as I've, I've been on a couple of panels, and I've done some talks at over the last 8 weeks at really 8 different automotive conferences. And what's just obvious is that salespeople forgot how to sell. That technology over automated things, and this is not unique to the car business at all. This is what's happening across industry, where companies like Salesforce and HubSpot and the Oracles and the SAPs behind them have just automated so much that people just sit there and wait for something to pop up, right? And I think that's where they lost the know-how to, invest the time in understanding who the customer is. The kinds of stuff that Dale Carnegie used to talk about in terms of, winning friends and influencing people, the stuff that, the Sewell family has proven for years in absence or alongside technology, but never replaced by technology, right? I mean, that's just the thing. It's the whole reason that A to Z had to be started in the first place. I mean, was to try to be a bridge back to people understanding that if you're a salesperson, you need to have a one-to-one peer-to-peer relationship with their customer. Therefore, you need to collect information from them. And to Peter's point, it doesn't need to be a uniform survey for each and every customer, right? It's got to be an approach that's bespoke and relevant and unique to each customer to understand them before you start to offer them anything other than what maybe they showed up wanting to look at in the first place.
Fantastic. So we had Larry Stanley from Numa join us. Larry, did you want to comment at all about payments? I mean, I know you do a lot of stuff in service and you're starting to get into the sales side of the house, but you have a deep auto background. Maybe you can talk a little bit about, Foursquare, and do you think that's still relevant, or what do you think's happening in customer experience?
Well, I have a little experience with A to Z Sync because I was part of the Shop Automotive group during my career back in Denver. So I was the general sales manager at the BMW store, and couldn't agree more with Doug that being in that environment for 2 years and running a store that does A to Z, where managers really aren't involved in anything outside of the trade experience, and that might have changed since my years there. I mean, we're going back to 2014, 16. But, as far as payments go, I came in a little late on the conversation. I'm heading to LAX to speak to a Ford group out there. So I'm going to just stay quiet on that one.
Fair enough. Brandy, did you want to make any comments on Foursquares?
Sure, absolutely. We talked about the generation that's buying vehicles right now, and then I searched when the Foursquare actually originated, and we're talking 80s. Yep. 1980s is when it dates back to. And so the general census from the consumer is not a positive one. I'm not saying that it doesn't work for dealers, but if we're talking about transparency, that's the one thing it lacks. And if we're talking about a new buyer, they do deserve a new buying experience.
You're not, it's not like a menu. It's like, oh, so did you want steak with that? Here's what it costs. Did you want a monthly payment on that?
It's everything misleading though, right? The Foursquare sadly is about, and has the reputation of that. And so I think that, it's so funny because I'd be curious to see how many deals are lost the second it's pulled out. We're not tracking those stats. We care about our closing ratio and that's it. Where if we look at our process, we could probably.
I bought a car literally a couple weeks ago, and they were using it. It's a Chrysler store. They were using a Foursquare 100% on the worksheet, like in 1983. So it was not. It's a process they're still using in 2025. So that's one of the reasons.
Here's the thing: I would love to be a customer in that. I'm sorry, but I'd love to fuck with that a little bit. I would play with it like a cat with a mouse and just watch them get uncomfortable. But that's just me.
Well, it was an entertaining experience just because I was like, listen, I've been doing this 25 years. So like, yeah, you're really going to pull out a tool that's when I was in high school. That's the tool. I thought that was hilarious. But, I guess the bigger question, and I think it was kind of interesting walking into different stores, was that initial greeting or the pre-sale discussion from a salesperson to a customer.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I think that is probably just as important, whether it's online or in store, than it's ever been. And to your point, Tim, when we talked about salesmen not having to get back to basics, there was actually an article, I think last week, someone was writing on this. And I said, yeah, it's Dale Carnegie came up with that. It's not from the 80s. It's not from 2005. So it's not new stuff. But at the same time, when you're looking at that listening in the pre-sale process, or basically saying, hey, instead of why'd you come in here today, what do you want to buy? Like, why'd you come in here today? What questions could I answer? But more importantly, what's your experience with the brand or the dealer? And I think in a lot of cases, I'm seeing fancier and fancier dealerships. That's also true in my own neighborhood here in Vancouver. But is the experience better, or is it just more shiny stuff? Like really shiny stuff. It's cool looking, don't get me wrong, but is it a better experience? I was in 2 Maserati Alfa Romeo stores, one here in Vancouver, it's just Maserati, and one that's an Alfa Maserati dealer in Edmonton. And talk about a completely different experience in the 2 stores. The one in Edmonton was a much better experience, which was kind of interesting because the guy who owns the Maserati store here in town also owns a Ferrari franchise. He's from Chicago. So it was kind of interesting that they broke out Maserati as a brand, but they created a poorer experience on the Maserati side than on the Ferrari side, which was kind of interesting. But Peter, what do you think on pre-sale? What do you think on Foursquare?
Peter Smith or Peter Martin?
Peter Smith.
Okay. Well, it's
the other Peter.
There's yeah. So Car Peter. What I would say about the Foursquare is it should be used for a fire starter. Just put it in the backyard and let it go. It's had its time. Let's cremate the thing and move on. There's too much opportunity out there to improve the customer service, that you can work a deal that much easier and let the customer do it themselves with technology. Simple as that. Hey, you want to build your deal? Here's the selling price of the car. Here's the interest rates that we can offer. Here's the terms that are available. Here's the here's the residuals based on kilometers or miles, and have at it. Let's make it to your benefit. To you can customize it yourself. I'll sit here and help you. That's what we have to do, and there's technology out there. Doug's system does it well. There's other systems out there, and we're looking at it in the wrong perspective. You can go on pretty much anything today and buy anything today and sit there at home and figure it out. We know CDK Insights put it out the other day, or not the other day, 2025 for NADA. Their Insights book, 78% of dealers think they have a digital retailing tool. 63% of them believe it's their website.
Yep.
31% of them actually have something. And yet, 2 surveys, one by Business Week, which was 82%, and CarMax at 93%, said customers would buy a car end to end if it was easy online. So we're missing the boat completely. Let's look at Carvana. How well is Carvana doing? They're 100% online. How well is Tesla done as a company? They're 100% online. We'll talk about all the other EV companies as being 100% online as well, but the migration of customers, and we said earlier, the customers that are out there today, and let's look at it. We're out. There's people driving cars that have licenses, that are purchasing cars that weren't born when Facebook was launched.
You mean
so? Let's look at that as a baseline. Let's forget about getting back to basics. Let's get down to the foundation and change the foundation and start the new skyscraper. We can't build it from the 100th floor down. We can't renovate it. We have to take it down and bring it up again.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, if you went to a restaurant and said, yeah, you can get the steak, but you must have these add-ons. You must have these features on it. Those are baked in. The fees are there, just so you know. It's kind of like Vegas with their handling charges on food now, I hear. But
would you like a knife with that?
So to bring that up, I mean, we're talking a little bit about that. When you look at accessories, you look at service packages, look at warranties, and obviously online with A to Z and other tools, I mean, you're looking at adding those. And I'm not sure how good digital retail tools are doing that, because they're not really selling it. They're saying, did you want to add this? Kind of like when you're setting up your flight, you want to add baggage or whatever. I don't know how successful that is. But do you think dealers, instead of just selling the payment or just selling the discount or just selling on a Foursquare, could really sell that, accessories and service package and warranties and add that value? I mean, what do you think, Peter, Mr. WebDoc?
Well, when you're talking about extended warranties and packages like that, I think that's still something that needs to be done on a face-to-face basis with somebody in F&I, because there's so many different options. When you're looking at the vehicle, especially if you're looking at a used vehicle, there's so many different options that are available based upon the age of the vehicle, the mileage on the vehicle, all the different packages. Every dealer out there has a different extended warranty. There's nothing really uniform. So I think it's important for things like that. Those are pieces of the puzzle that have got to be handled on a one-on-one basis, where you've got somebody who can provide the information. But just play off of something I said earlier, yes, all the information is available, and I agree completely. We have to be transparent, because one of the things I've been seeing and hearing a lot is the consumers that are coming into the dealerships today know more about the car and the whole process than the salesperson. I think that's where we have to spend more time on training the salespeople and elevate that level. But when it comes to these aftermarket items, I think it really needs to be somebody that can explain that and do a very good job of being transparent and sharing that information to make the sale. So I think it needs to be kept outside of the initial payment, because that's an add-on. It's going to change the payment.
Fair enough. Doug, do you feel with the one-to-one sales model, is that something that they get into? Like, do they get into accessories? They get into that stuff?
I'd be willing to challenge what Peter just said. First off, the way A to Z sets up our technology, the very first thing you do is you tell them what they can expect today at the store, which is kind of what Peter Smith was alluding to. Let them know and I think Tim was as well. Let them know this is how we conduct business. This is how we're going to do things. Then the next thing is find them the right vehicle, help them find the right vehicle, help them accessorize it to meet their needs. And then that same person does a great job offering and presenting and selling F&I products. Now, you could do them in the pencil as long as it's disclosed in the whole holistic process that, if you're planting seeds along the way and you're detecting that they're nervous about their budget, then maybe planning a service contract and saying, you keep mentioning your budget, maybe we should take a look at this. Then it could be done during the pencil. You don't necessarily have to have a separate person per se to present those products. But I will say this, there's yet to be a digital retailing tool that can match the productivity of add-on products that a person can at this point. Now, that's something that'll evolve over time. But I don't know that you necessarily need a separate person per se. That it depends on what's best for the dealership. But I think the important thing is to, instead of bifurcating the deal as sell the car, sell F&I, sell the whole thing the whole time. I mean, think holistically the whole time. Then there's no surprises.
I had a comment from Chris Chip Diggs. Foursquares may work for the dealer, but it doesn't work for the customer. Dealers just need to become more customer centric. The reason why Amazon and Carvana win is because the client understands the process. People don't want to be sold. They want to be they assisted buying a vehicle. So I wanted to get a comment from Larry. I know that, answering phone calls at dealerships is a challenge, whether it be in service or sales. Do you think that's part of the reason why the perception of value for car dealers is a problem? I mean, I was at a dealer that happened to be a Subaru store in Edmonton, I believe, and they had this whole branding from Subaru Canada, which is like the undealer and it's like, is that a customer experience? Like, oh, I don't know, that's just a Subaru thing. I'm like, okay, the undealer, but you got it all over your showroom and on the windows. You don't even know what it is. But he's like, oh, we do have a problem answering the phone. I'm like, oh, interesting. Larry, what do you think?
You know, when I got into Numa 4 years ago, I was like, hey, look, you know, sales always answers the phone, right? Like, you know, the call goes out from the receptionist over the pager, or everybody's phones ring at the same time. And, you know, 5 guys or gals are jumping on the phone. But what we're seeing on the sales side is that there are a lot of unanswered inquiries coming in on, you know, vehicles. Whether that's a product of our COVID days when inventory was short, customers maybe that bought a car during that time that are ready to, you know, re-up, you know, don't know that the inventories are busting at the seams, right? Yeah, it's a problem. Our dealers know it's a problem. The communication between the customer and the client advisor or sales advisor, whatever we're calling them these days, you know, it's not the same communication that management's getting from the sales associate, right? They're trying to take the path of least resistance, close the deal, but with transparency, whether you're using Car Wars or, you know, some other recording tool like ours. It's interesting to hear the conversations that are happening between customers and salespeople. And I can't recall who said it, but yes, customers know more about the vehicles, they know more about the incentives than most of these new client advisors. You know, it's turn and burn. We lost a lot of really good automotive salespeople during COVID, and now we're stuck with what we have, right? It's coming back, but yeah, calls are definitely a problem. But the experience piece of it, I wanted to comment on that as well. What we see with the call recordings and being able to run everything through, you know, generative AI and categorize, you know, what's going on. It's the same. We see a lot of after sales calls, right? Whether it's to the finance department, hey, my vehicle isn't paid off, or hey, you know, I bought the car 2 weeks ago. Where are my floor mats? Or when are you going to bring me in to put in that bed liner? A lot of dropped balls in the after experience, which, you know, as we all know, right? Sales sells the first, car service sells the rest. But if you have a drop ball in a new sale, it's detrimental to that customer coming back to the dealership or the brand for service or for their next auto purchase. So,
excellent. Brandy, what do you
think? I take on calls.
What do you think, Brand?
So myself, when I started building Disclose, I built it starting with the finance menu. And for me, the finance menu, and so now we are somewhat of a full-blown system that we can print a bill of sale, you can desk a deal, etc. So for me, even the mere word Disclose kind of speaks volume. When creating Disclose, it wasn't a typical menu where it was a one-pager.
Yeah.
It was a disclosure process that allowed you to somewhat control the conversation, allowing staff to have a method to streamline, but also ensuring that every option, every solution was offered every time. And so as I've looked at numbers, whether it's finance, whether it's cash penetration, converting, etc., really it starts with having a solidified process that allows you to walk through those steps. A lot of the menu I created was also based on the experience of the staff and people I've dealt with. And so when we talk about Foursquare, you know, it wasn't even like we have what's called a pricing disclosure. The pricing disclosure is to ensure that, yes, Mr. Customer, I know you said you were paying cash, but I'm going to ensure that you were given every option, every solution, every time. And it starts with method of payment. And it wasn't only about educating the consumer, it was actually about educating sales managers and people in a method to present every time. And that's, you know, we talk about, oh, well, the assumptions we make, oh, they should just be doing this. They should know how to do it. And quite frankly, they do not. It's about having that tool to really make sure that it's done seamlessly. When we talk about Omni, that's the experience. I want to know that I can come back in 2 years and I'm going to make sure I'm given every option, every solution, every time. And for me, that's what it was about in creating the menu. And that's what just wasn't out there in the industry. There was no desking tool that made sure that every single calculation was done with the touch of a button. And so the other thing I just want to add on as well before it gets too late is Tim had said something earlier about, you know, what we do to self-generate, or what we do right now is we're just waiting for that to show up. And I think where a lot falls off is, yes, we get a customer, we get them through the door, we expect the systems to do everything. But if you don't have a plan for self-generation, that really actually speaks volume to me. If I can ask you, like I've asked so many salespeople lately, okay, we're talking about leads and the leads are shit and blah, blah, blah. What do you do to self-generate? Nobody's doing anything. Oh, Facebook, I post 5 on Facebook Marketplace every day. Nobody's in, sales has changed so much, and it breaks my heart a little bit because sales used to be about community, getting out there, self-generating, retaining, taking it as a career. And I feel like so many sales staff now, it's just that crossover. So that's my 2 bits.
Fantastic. Tim, what do you think? I mean, obviously, I've been in a lot of dealerships. I was even asked by a salesman, do you do sales training? And I said, no, but clearly you need some.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's, I've got a script. It's never in the same order whenever I'm meeting with a dealer principal, a general manager, or, hopefully more people around the table. And I'll just start with, do you know who your highest lifetime value customers are? I'll start with that. And they'll tell me, they usually will say, hey, we've got, these 4 families that go to church with us that come in and buy a truck every 18 months. That's table stakes, right? That's usually the dealer principal who says something like that. But the next thing, I'll look around the room and I'll say, how many vehicles did you sell over $80,000 last year? And somebody will have a number to give me. And then I'll say, perfect. How many of those customers did you take out for lunch over the last year? And the room goes silent. And I've said that again and again. I love talking to Ford or Chevy dealers and asking them about really expensive trucks or big SUVs and saying, how often do you send a birthday card to the people who bought those things? And they say, we don't, right? We have an email that goes to them on their birthday and gives them a discount on an oil change. All right, wrong. It's not about the transaction. It is not about that. The transactions come if you fortify the relationship and if you show people that you give a shit about them beyond them coming in to test drive a car or bringing one to your house, no matter how fancy you think that is. The bottom line is it's not about the vehicle. It's about them trusting you and wanting to know that you're there when something goes wrong or when they see that they have something on your lot that they want. So I'm, at the end of the day, I really don't, I think we're going to, what nobody's talking about right now is this natural consolidation that's happening in the marketplace right now. I don't have one single dealer group I'm working with right now who hasn't just acquired another group or who isn't about to acquire another group. And it's because they were doing something right in the first place. I'm helping them advance things in a modern, contemporary way with technology. That's all I'm doing. I'm trying to give them a little bit more to understand on the other side of that. But when we start talking about the relationships that they have or they don't have, that's where we start to really detect where the opportunities for improvement are or where there's things that technology could push forward. But if they're not looking at it, the technology is not going to do it for them.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, and if you're looking for an Auto Hub Show hat, they're out. I'm out of stock for this year, so NADA will have a new one. So if you're looking for one, you can definitely send me an email when the new ones come out. I'll definitely be happy to do that. But go ahead, Peter. You had a question?
So I got a question for everyone.
Yep.
Do you think the single point dealership is a endangered species?
Yep.
Are the mom and pop stores, as we saw what's his name? I can't. Stephen Greenfield put out a post showing the decline of these single point dealership, the 3 to 5 point dealerships. They're all declining, where the multinational or multi groups are increasing in size. Do we think, and I'll refer back to Home Depot for a second, Agent Orange. Agent Orange came in and killed everything in the mom and pop hardware store era. And there's very few mom and pop hardware stores around now. They're all Home Depots, they're all Lowe's, they're all the big box stores now. Is that going to happen in the automotive industry in the next 5, 10, 20 years? What do we think the timeline is going to be?
Well, I think
And
for a
with
new car
technology,
franchise,
technology, that's going to accelerate it because technology is accelerating at the rate of doubling at 6 months. So what's the timeline, do we think?
Well, I think that the used car lot, no, but the new car franchise, I think that's already declining. I know a few that own 1 or 2 stores, but I think when you look at just the consolidation in major city markets, you're seeing a lot of dealers who had, say, 3 to 5, 5 to 7, even going, someone gives me enough money, I'm out. And I think that's really where it's going, because they just can't compete with the systems and the technology and the process. I think that's really what it comes down to. And that's also true in the restaurant space. I mean, these individual restaurants, they're having a hard time. A restaurant I've been going to when I lived in Vancouver for over 20 years, he's having to change his business model, and he's a 3-generation Greek restaurant owner because he has to get innovative. So it was very interesting. What do you think, Larry Stanley? You're muted, by the way.
We see it all the time. Like, with having 1,500 clients out there right now, 3 to 4 buy sells a week, where our stores that have, 1, 2, 5, even 20 stores are being consumed by these larger groups. So I'm 5 years or less is my prediction.
5 years or less. Interesting.
Yeah.
Doug, any
projection? When you see 25, 30 store groups getting consumed by, Lithia and, up in Canada where I primarily live right now, you got your Open Roads, your Goes, your Auto Canadas. They're all looking to acquire anything, 15, 20, 30 store groups.
Well, Go has a new building in Edmonton. They not only have a huge insurance division, they've got a 5-store building just for their corporate head office because they don't have space in their dealerships anymore to house all their staff. I mean, they're expanding at a dramatic clip. I think they're up to about 60 stores now. What do you think, Doug?
Well, the numbers don't lie. Obviously, it's occurring. What I'm hoping is that if these dealerships are bought up, that they're bought up by privately held entities and not corporations. It's the corporate stores that really tend to bug me. But when it's a privately held company that is buying more stores, but hopefully still maintaining kind of that privately, that familiar family feel, then I'm okay with that.
Look, you said private family feel. You did not say private equity once. That's the big difference. There's a big difference.
The offshore private equity fund, is that what you're saying?
Or the local private equity fund. I'm just saying you need everyone that I mentioned earlier. I didn't mention anybody name, but those that we're working with, the 5 groups that we're working with, it is the family. It is the family and/or executive management in the organization has been with them for 20 years. That are on the tip of due diligence and having productive conversations with who they are courting. Right, about the brand living on, right, and doing them right in the transaction. I mean, we need more of that. And going back to Peter, to answer Peter's question directly is, I think it's going to be a coin flip, right? There's a lot of single point stores that are the only game in town and probably have much longer than 5 years. Certainly have much longer than 5 years, and then there are quite a few right now that just aren't going to be able to compete with the metropolitan dealers that are 60 miles or further away that just do a better job from a technology standpoint and maybe have a price advantage. Back to what this whole show today was supposed to be about. They just have that high volume, better price value that they can offer. I think that's what's going to continue to strangle them. But I think it's a coin flip to see how long they last.
Well, and I think the other thing is, I'm okay with central ownership as long as it's local management and local feel. I look at a group like Premier based in New Orleans, but they have stores all around, but it's all with a local feel. And they still insist on, you will have a local impact in the market. You will be active in the community. You will do these things. My fear is that these big corporations, you get to the point where they're just machines. They're just money-making machines, but they don't really care. And when they lose that care, that's when everything erodes again.
I agree 100%. I mean, I worked with this dealer in a very small town. It was a General Motors store, the only dealer in town. I think those dealers will survive, Peter. But I think when you look at the, the larger metropolitan areas, you're seeing consolidation not only of dealers and stores, but you're also seeing moving locations. They buy 2 Chrysler stores, they close one down, they make the other one bigger. They're doing this, that, and the other thing. And the reason they're doing that is they look at the economies of scale, much like Starbucks or other companies. They go, hey, I got 20 Starbucks locations, only 15 makes sense. I close 5, they go to the other 15 anyway. It makes no difference. So I think that's kind of the interesting thing that I'm seeing. But we're almost out of time. So, what do you think dealers should change right now before 2026, or at least plan for that change to create a better experience and to really, create different pricing options versus discounts? I mean, I'm already seeing a resurgence of 0% interest for the holidays from, I think, Chrysler, which I thought was hilarious. But, what should dealers change to, sell vehicles with options or to do a better job to differentiate, especially in the land of gobble competition? Let's start with Peter Martin.
I think quickly, because I know we're short on time, the biggest thing is they need to spend some money on training the salespeople and really improving the salespeople. It's a constant theme of the show week after week that the salespeople have become order takers. We lost a lot of good salespeople. I think we need to go back to the basics and start doing some training and really improve the salespeople and make that a better experience for the consumer. That's my recommendation.
Fantastic. Larry, what do you think?
I agree with Peter. I mean, we always invested, no matter what stores I was, working with at the time. I mean, it's all about training, and especially with the turnover. How do you get these people? And I don't think you really train them on, don't train them on Foursquare. Okay, that's my first recommendation. Secondly, train them on customer experience, right? And I think that's what the Sean Wallace organization, A to Z, it's about, educating the customer what your process is and then sticking to it, right? Even as a general sales manager with Shop, if a customer was standing up at the front desk being greeted on a Saturday and we had no salespeople, it was a manager's job to go up and say, look, we've been one price for 30 years. This is why, right? This is what's going to happen today in the sales experience. Let me get you with Sally. And I assure you, right, I'll be here, but she's your gal, right? So that's what I got.
Fantastic. Tim?
I mean, what everybody's saying again, it's, it's about iterative. We say something about digital transformation, that it's not a turnkey project. It is a journey. I mean, the stuff Doug will tell you this, what A to Z is doing today looks remarkably different than what it did 6 months ago and totally different than it did 12 months ago. That's how technology, and Peter threw out there that, it's 6-folding, whatever the 6 qualifier that you put on there. These are high velocity times of change that we're living through right now. If you're not investing in your people with that same deliberate improvement, that can be, what did we measure and what did we learn from it? And who in the group has got a great story to tell with everybody, right? Those type of things that get everybody sharing with each other, and some objective things that change on a regular basis in terms of goals to hit, maybe week by week or month by month. Sure, let's see what works. Let's see what we can do to change the business. And all along, if we have to go for outside training or coaching, let's do it, right? Let's always have that consideration too.
Fantastic. Brandy?
Absolutely agree with what everybody said. I do want to note that 4 months-ish ago, when we were talking about tariffs, we were also talking about inventory shortages. And now we're giving 0%. So number one, be prepared to pivot, because it will absolutely change. But also to come back to one of Peter's point, the number one thing that they could be doing is improving their website, improving the online experience, making it easier for somebody to experience buying a vehicle from their location rather than Amazon. That would be the number one focus for 2026. Improve and make it easy to buy direct.
Doug, Amazon? Not buying from Amazon? No, go ahead.
No, I think that if a dealer wants to make a big change, it's got to start at the culture change. You've got to change your culture, and you've got to teach your people. Somebody brought up earlier, the staff that we're hiring today is bereft of interpersonal skills. They've got to learn interpersonal skills. They've got to quit selling and start consulting. They've got to help customers instead of trying to force them down a path. And focusing more on individual coaching as opposed to training for the masses, because each person has their own challenge. Find out what that challenge is and work with that individual. But I think if you focus on everything except moving metal, the metal will move itself.
Thanks for that. Peter, last comment, and enjoy Used Car Week. Say hi to the boys there when you're there. Go ahead. I think you're muted or something. Can't hear a damn thing. You're still muted. Oh, now you're muted again. I don't know.
Come on, Peter, you can
We
do
can't.
it.
We can't hear you, buddy. It's all good. We're out of time. Have a good conference. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.
Adios.